Hello and welcome to the Visionary Chronicles. Thanks for being with me today. I've got a special episode, I guess, for me, as it's been a little bit of a labor of love over the last I'm going to say 14 to 18 months or so. The release of my new book, which is going to be actually on June 30th of this year. But I wanted to give you a little bit of behind the scenes look on the journey that I went through in writing the book. And the book name is The Visionary Leader, The Success Principles of the World's Greatest Visionaries. The release date, again, is on 6/30. And this is a follow-up. And it's actually part of a triad that I'm doing on books. My next book is going to be The Visionary Product, so I'll have a triad. The first one was The Visionary Brand, The Success Principles of the World's Greatest Visionary Brands. So it's a great compliment to what I wrote on my first best-selling book. Thank you again for those that purchased the Visionary brand. But I always say, most important for me is not only that you read the book, but I love getting the feedback of how you applied what I wrote in the book, much like with the Visionary Chronicles. I always said that, and I quoted this before, the famous Vin Scully that said, I'm the great teller of every other athlete's success. And I felt the same way when I started the Visionary Chronicles was you should have the ability to trust and to be able to reach out to me and ask me questions directly without me having to go to somebody I'm interviewing. And again, there's a lot of great podcasts with people that they've interviewed, successful business leaders. I just feel it's incumbent on me to be able to provide to you these visionary principles that allow you to be not only better professionally, but also personally as well. Having been an entrepreneur, been with iconic brands such as Oakley, K-Swiss, TaylorMade, Adidas, and all of these brands have a lot of these principles in common. So like with the Visionary brand, I didn't really find a visionary brand. Rather, I just put together these principles which outline the principles, the success formula behind the world's most visionary brands. This formula that these iconic generational brands like Nike have in place, and they continue to have it today. So if you could, just bear with me today, and we'll talk about the book. I shouldn't say bear with me. Hopefully this is something you find enlightening as well. And at the end of the podcast, I got a little special surprise for those that are listening. So hang on till the end here, and I'll present that to you well. So again, welcome to the Visionary Chronicles, where we explore the principles behind the world's most disruptive innovators, legendary entrepreneurs, and generational brands. And today, we're going to talk about the Visionary Leader, the success principles of the world's greatest visionaries, the new book I'm going to be releasing on June 30th, actually, of this year, and it's a special episode for me. So I like to dive into the insight stories, these timeless strategies that make up the DNA of these generational visionary leaders. And I got to tell you, as I was going through the journey of writing the book, it was fun to do this book because I go all the way back. It just isn't the typical visionary that you would think of. It isn't contemporary visionaries. It's one that go all the way back to Socrates, to Gandhi, Martin Luther King, up into who we have today with Steve Jobs. And so it was a great contrast for me. And Alexander the Great was one of the best ones, Lincoln, whatever it may be. It's visionaries in different context of how they're considered a visionary. And so I'm very pleased, let's say, on these early releases of the book to get some great praise for the visionary leader. So I always love that as well, but I'd love to share that with you so you get a little bit of an insight of when you read the book, what you're going to see as well. So we're going to talk about that DNA of visionary leaders. So whether you're a business leader, a creative thinker, or someone just chasing a purpose-driven path, this book was written for you, and I had that in mind when I actually wrote it, is I just felt that the visionary leader is a broad makeup of principles to become visionary, and it takes time. And I wanted to profile every visionary that I could think of over the generations and centuries, actually. So just to give you a little bit of context, I just wanted to do a couple reviews that I recently got in the Visionary Chronicle from who's a very respected reviewer. I wanted to put her name in here, Diane Donovan from Midwest Book Review. And she said just quickly, the visionary leaders' success principles of the world's greatest visionaries goes beyond discussions of leadership to inject the concept of vision into the process. And she said, while this addition may seem like a small adjustment, in fact, it represents a big divergence from the books about leadership, in that it promotes visionary thinking as a major part of the leadership process. And then also one from a senior critic at Publishers Weekly, a very respected publication. And it said, readers will leave Smeltzer's work with increased awareness of how to recognize and transform into a visionary leader, as he maintains a strong focus throughout and offers a wealth of real-life examples to enhance understanding. Now, I'm not doing that to pat myself on the back. I'm just doing it so you get a bit of insight on the visionary leader and what other people think when they read the book. So those are just two of many, but I thought they would be helpful when we discuss the book. And just to give you a little bit of an overview on the visionary leader, what I've done is really explore the principles, qualities, and strategy that define the world's most impactful visionary leaders. And how I've done this, and I love doing it, was through historical examples and actionable insights. And really, I wanted to empower the readers to embrace their potential, overcome adversity wherever possible, and lead with purpose in life. I find that when I talk with leaders, one thing that I continually hear from them, almost unequivocally, is that I don't know what my purpose is outside of work, and or vice versa. So I wanted to really put together some visionary leaders and the context around those visionary leaders to give you not only personal but professional visionary leadership potential, overcoming adversity, and what your purpose may or may not be. So the book really serves as a guide and an inspiration for aspiring leaders, those that want to aspire to take the next step in their career. Entrepreneurs and change makers. Really demonstrates how visionary leadership drives innovation. That's what you really see in the book, what I love about it. And you don't always have to be innovative. You can be impactful and be a visionary like Gandhi. And so you'll see in the book a lot of different visionaries. I actually profile 18 different visionaries through 17 chapters in the book. So it builds lasting cultures and transforms industry and societies, these visionary leaders. So I profile from Steve Jobs to Mahatma Gandhi, Henry Ford to Jesus. And I feel like these are all impacting us as we live our life today. But yet they were visionaries from centuries ago. And so I felt it was really important that if I'm going to talk about the visionary leader, that we talk about those true visionary leaders. I don't care what century they were in. They had an impact on our life back then, and they do today. So this book highlights those transformative impact of these visionaries. Kind of offers what I call this roadmap for cultivating these extraordinary traits that they have in you and seeing what they've done in their life and how they've impacted others. And it really encourages you to take bold action where needed and, become a catalyst wherever possible for positive change, armed with resilience, creativity, and faith. These are all critical ingredients to you becoming a visionary leader. And I wanted to make sure that I profiled that in the book as well. So the other question that I get from people is, why this book? So why the visionary leader? Number one, it's a complement to the visionary brand. So again, it's going to be a triad. The third will be the visionary product. But for years, I've studied leadership, not only with the brands I've been with, but also those brands that I've profiled and leadership that I've been around through LiquidMind in these iconic brands. And understanding or trying to understand what their impact was over centuries and over generations. So yes, I have profiled visionary leaders over the generations, but also over centuries. So hopefully you'll find that pretty interesting. but this transformative leadership that you'll see in the book from different generations, the kind that build companies, shift cultures, and inspires people to do what others say is impossible is what these leaders have done and achieved. And that's what you'll see in the book. So the book is kind of a result of this journey that I took over centuries to understand who these visionaries were and profile them to you. So a blueprint which is really drawn from the lives of these visionaries, like Martin Luther King Jr., Einstein, Leonardo da Vinci, Gandhi, Tesla, and even Jesus as the ultimate visionary that we follow today. These weren't just leaders. They were torchbearers of purpose, passion, and perseverance. Those are three great words when you talk about visionary leadership. It isn't just about a great idea. It isn't about you being the best at what you do. You have to have a purpose. You have to have a passion. And you have to persevere. You're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have storms along the way. Do you lead? Do you follow? Or do you run? What do you do in these situations? And you'll see that in the book when I profile these visionaries. So it was really fun for me to do, but hopefully you'll find it impactful as well. So the next is really what we're talking about today. Give you a little bit of a bullet point as I talk about the book. I also wanted to provide some additional information from you on, hey, what does this visionary leader look like? So what is the DNA of a visionary leader? And these are the points that I talk about, these what I call 9 defining traits of visionary leaders. These aren't talents that you're born with. They're principles you build over time. And the first that I found with these visionary leaders was a clear vision. What I call this foresight of the future, this future casting. They know exactly where they're going. And the reason I put these short sentences there is ask yourself these questions as I go through these. Do you know where your company and you personally are going? Every visionary leader I profiled has had clear direction in where they are going personally and professionally. Number 2 is ask yourself if you have unwavering courage. Take a look back over the last few years here. Are they willing to take risk others run from? And a lot of people don't. And I don't blame you. There's a lot of great leaders that tuck tail and run during COVID. And it's just not part of their DNA, and that's okay. But it's unwavering courage and why there's so few visionaries out there. Number 3 is they have disruptive creativity. They just don't think outside the box like people will say. They break the box. So think of your tolerance for risk. Are you a risk taker? If not, it's going to be very difficult for you to take the step to being a visionary leader. Number 4 is authentic empathy. Understanding people at a deep emotional level, and this is one that I profile with Gandhi, which is great, is he's probably one of the greatest visionaries that had the largest following ever outside of Jesus. So that's one thing for you when you're looking at understanding people at a deep emotional level is extremely important. And this goes towards humility as well. Understanding that it takes a team to succeed, not an individual to succeed. Number 5 is, are you resilient? Because every visionary I profiled faced failure. Thomas Edison famously said, I've found 9,999 ways not to invent the light bulb. So you have to be resilient as a visionary leader. Next is strategic thinking. Not just thinking, but strategic thinking. Seeing the game 10 moves ahead. The Art of War book profiles this. When you talk about being able to have foresight as to what not just your next move is, but what your next 10 moves are going to be and the impact those will have on your future and your ability to succeed in whatever you do, product or service. The next is adaptability, thriving in uncertainty. I go through all of these qualities and actually pinpoint what each visionary had in their strength and weakness in each one of these. So adaptability, thriving in uncertainty. Are you adaptable? Or is this something that you either, I say, respond or you react? Responding is prep. It goes back to, and these all flow, by the way, with each other. So when you talk about strategic thinking, think about adaptability. Strategic thinking and adaptability combined are responding. Responding is knowing what's going to happen before it happens and adapting to it based off your strategic thinking. Reacting is not a strategy. That's just going with the flow. That's not what visionary leaders do. The next is passion. A fire that fuels every step forward. And the greatest example of this is Steve Jobs, where he had that passion every day. And he lit up Apple and everyone that worked for him with this passion and a fuel that he injected into everybody's bloodlines every day to step forward and not take average as success. And the last is applied faith. I can tell you, not only from my life, but every visionary that I profile, they've had to lean on a higher power for them to succeed in their life. Not just belief, but daily action, which is grounded in a purpose that you have for your life. So applied faith is another big one as well. These traits are brought to life in the stories of the visionaries that I talk about in the Visionary Leader. So it's not only important to know what these traits are, but understand who the visionaries are that live them. So that's why I profile them in the book. So sometimes painfully, sometimes brilliantly, but always purposefully. All these visionaries had challenges, but they also always persevered. So with that, let me give you a kind of a quick journey through the book. I could go chapter by chapter, and I was thinking about that, but I thought, oh boy, that'll be a little long. But I just wanted to give you a quick overview of the book, and at the end, I'll tell you what this surprise is that I have at the end for those listening to the Visionary Chronicles. So let me give you a quick kind of tour of the book chapter so you can get an idea of what's inside the book. So we start out with what's called the vision. And this is where I talk about Steve Jobs and his ability to shape the future by seeing what others couldn't. And I not only talk about this, the vision, in a subject matter in each one of these in the chapter, and it flows very similarly to how I wrote the Visionary brand. I talk about the vision, but I also talk about and profile each one of these visionaries. What was their life? What was their main accomplishments? And what were their strengths as a visionary, and how did they achieve success? And then we move from Steve on the vision to the mindset, featuring Einstein and Madame Curie, both of whom defied convention and followed the curiosity they had into changing the world through their discoveries. And it was really, really interesting when I started talking with Einstein and Madame Curie and going through what their accomplishments are. And I hope you find it to be the same when you look at these visionaries. Most you maybe haven't thought of, you've heard of them, but you really haven't understood what their impact was to our world and what we carry through today. And then we profile Leonardo da Vinci. This guy is amazing. Amazing what he talks about, the ideas. I've never seen a visionary to this day that has had as many ideas. And he commercialized many of these. Most people think of Leonardo da Vinci as just an artist, but I got to tell you, he is one of the greatest visionaries ever to walk Earth. He is amazing, the ideas that he had. And that's why, interestingly enough, I profile him in The Ideas. So I talk about Leonardo da Vinci. And then Tesla shows us the passion. Nikola Tesla. Socrates challenges us with the insight. And then there's also a really, what I call, powerful chapter on the commitment through the eyes of Abraham Lincoln and what he went through and the challenges that he faced and the success that he had. And Michelangelo. And in another chapter, when the relentlessness through the stories of Carnegie and Rockefeller, men who built these empires, not without pain, but with persistence. And if you look back on all the visionaries I profiled, the reason I've done it is there's many more visionaries out there, but what you'll find is a common thread, that they still impact us today. Even though maybe centuries or generations before, they still impact us today. And we also explore the risk with Amelia Earhart and Frank Lloyd Wright, and failures and successes with Thomas Edison, the greatest inventor ever to walk Earth, who said, I haven't failed, I just found 10,000 ways it won't work, or 9,999 ways. So each chapter really ties back to how you can integrate these traits into your own leadership journey. And in the final chapters, which to me is the most impactful, we talk about faith, soul, dedication, and passion. Ending with perhaps what I see the greatest visionary of all time, Jesus, whose leadership transcended time and really changed our world forever. I feel it's fitting that Jesus would finish the book. And so all of these chapters, and hopefully you find it impactful in your life and professional and personal life. And the other question I get, or I actually put this one in here, was why this book matters to you. And for me, I really draw from experience as an entrepreneur, brand executive, and really a thought creator to deliver a practical and an inspirational guide for modern leaders like yourself that are looking for, who else can I look to that was a true visionary leader that had an impact on our world? And you'll find that across every chapter in The Visionary Leader. So by blending history, philosophy, and really actionable advice for your day-to-day, The Visionary Leader really equips, what I wanted to do is equip readers with the tools to innovate, inspire, and really lead with purpose in their life. So whether you're navigating challenges, building a team, or striving to achieve a lifelong dream, this book will provide, hopefully, a roadmap for becoming a transformative leader. So go back and ask yourself those 9 questions or 10 questions I put up there, the traits of these visionary leaders, and really add up where you stand as being a visionary leader today and where you would like to be as a transformative leader for your company or your brand. So the takeaway really is, here's kind of my big idea with the visionary leader is, and I'll repeat this because I think it's really important for you to understand. You don't need a massive platform or a billion-dollar company or a genius IQ to be a visionary leader. You don't need a massive platform, a billion-dollar company, or a genius IQ to be a visionary leader. What you do need is clarity, courage, and a commitment to act. If you have a vision without execution is just a wish. What you do need is clarity, courage, and a commitment to act. So this book is just not about learning from the past. It's about preparing you for your future. It's about building the internal foundation that allows you to become the kind of leader who inspires people, innovative, and it ignites change in our world. That's what all these visionary leaders did. So again, I want to thank you for listening to the Visionary Chronicles today and kind of having an overview of the new book that I'm writing, or I have written rather, and released on June 30th of this year. which is actually today. And if this episode resonated with you, I encourage you to grab a copy of The Visionary Leader, The Success Principles of the World's Greatest Visionaries. The content of our episode today, podcast episode, it's available now wherever books are sold, and it's a perfect companion if you're looking to reignite your purpose or lead with more clarity in a really complex world. And I get it, it's complex out there. And it's one of the reasons I wrote the book. You can learn from visionaries, and these are visionaries of the past. It goes all the way back to Socrates. It goes to Leonardo da Vinci, all the way up to Elon Musk. So today it is available. It's been a culmination of about, as I mentioned earlier, 14 to 18 months. And you can purchase The Visionary Leader today, The Success Principles of the World's Greatest Visionaries. The book really is a culmination of decades of research, experiences, and really real-world insights into what makes leaders like Steve Jobs, Leonardo da Vinci, and Elon Musk truly visionary. Abraham Lincoln. It takes you behind the scenes, and here's what early readers are saying, in addition to the reviews I had mentioned earlier. A masterclass in leadership, this book doesn't just inspire, it equips. And that's really what I wanted to do, is equip you with the tools to become visionary. The other said is the rare and practical guide to unlocking your visionary potential. And that's really what I find is that it's not that you don't want to be visionary. You may not understand how to become visionary, what other visionaries have done to evolve themselves to become visionaries. And would love you to purchase a book. And as a thank you to my loyal podcast listeners and the visionary community we're building together, you can grab a copy of the ebook version today for just $1.99, but only through the month of July. So head over to Amazon, search for The Visionary Leader, The Success Principles of the World's Greatest Visionaries, or check out the show notes for a direct link. And I would really appreciate this. Once you've read it, I'd be truly grateful if you'd take a moment, just a quick moment, to leave an honest review on Amazon. It really helps with the reach of the book to get it in the hands of those that would really benefit from the book content. So I really would appreciate your feedback. Not only helps others discover the book, it helps future visionaries find their clarity, their confidence, encouraged to lead with purpose. Your support really does, honestly, authentically, means the world to me, and your purchase goes a long way in helping us spread this vision even further. So until next time, stay bold, stay visionary, and as always, lead with purpose. And the Visionary Chronicles, where the future is created by those bold enough to shape it. So thank you for your continued support, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. And again, The Visionary Leader is now available at all bookstore distribution as of today. Would appreciate you going out and purchasing it. And as I said, as a reward, hopefully for being the loyal listener to the Visionary Chronicles, we reduced the price on the ebook to $1.99 on Amazon, only through the month of July. And if you do read it, again, would appreciate a review. It just really helps with the reach of the book. So again, thank you. I appreciate you. And have a great day, and I'll look forward to the next Visionary Chronicles.